Hi, everybody. Hope all is well today. My name is Chelsea Hammer, and I am the brand new Partnership and Business Development Director for Reed Madem out of our New York City office. As you know, our daily talks happen every single day where leadership steps up and gets to speak. And today, our session is going to be called PropTech Around the Globe with Second Century Ventures and Reach Global. And our guests are going to be Natasha Terinova, Director of Reach UK, Valentina Shegoyan, Managing Partner of Reach UK, Lynette Keyowski, Managing Director, Second Century Ventures, as well as Dave Garland, Managing Partner, Second Century Ventures. And we're excited to see them share their views today.
Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. And it's great to be here. It's great to be here as a global team and take over your virtual stage, joined by my esteemed colleagues. We all share very different experiences and track record in PropTech, and my personal journey to PropTech is via clean technology and mobility as a service and electric mobility. And what really excites me about the industry is it's a lot more than a digital transformation of real estate. It's it's how we connect people and places and how we experience built environment, from where we park and charge our car to how we pay the bills and interact with the community. The size and the impact of PropTech is huge. So according to CBRE, the level of global investment into PropTech totaled $14 billion in 2019, in the first half of 2019, in fact, which is greater than the entire figure for 2017, which was considered the record year. I had amazing opportunity to join Reach team, and we normally operate like a global team, despite that we sit in all different parts of the world, and we all aligned in our views of PropTech, which includes a lot of solutions from adjacent sectors, and that reflects in our portfolio. So it's great to see, the Canada and the US and the UK here today, aside from Australia, which is it's right about middle of the night for our Australian guys. Reach is a scale-up program fully backed by Second Century Ventures, a strategic investment arm of National Association of Realtors in the US, or NAR. NAR is one of the largest trade associations or trade bodies, with its 1.4 million members and 100+ partnerships in 85 countries. And we believe that the evolution of real estate starts with equipping market practitioners with the right technology tools. I think it's safe to say that at the moment we are at an inflection point in our industry and in our society. And I think, Dave, it'll be great to start with you, and if you could talk us through the idea behind taking a Reach global, and how did pandemic change your views, and maybe you could give us some examples from our portfolio of the companies who operate on a global scale.
Sure. Thank you so much, Natasha. And thank you very much to the Propel and Omnipim team for inviting us here. It's really, truly a pleasure to be here in spite of some of the global circumstances that we're experiencing. We so wish that we could all be together face to face, but alas, circumstances led us to being socially distant and allowing us opportunities to participate in forums like this. A little bit of backstory about us. Our mission at Second Century Ventures is really to invest in technologies that serve to enhance the lives of practitioners of real estate around the globe, so they can better serve the industry. And as a venture fund in this particular space, we have historically been the most active with over 100 portfolio companies and 33 investments just in 2019 alone. And one of the key catalysts for a lot of our deal flow has been our Reach program, a global scale-up program that now operates across 5 major markets and continues to grow, and we continue to see that opportunity ahead in the future. When I first started as a partner with SCV 4 years ago, our team really felt that it was essential to double down on the opportunity to serve the biggest industry in the world with key technologies. And what we found with our program as we began expanding in the United States was that some of the best business ideas and the actual best businesses for our program were not just in the US, but also came from outside of our boundaries. Companies like Active Pipe or Update or Box Brownie that came from various corners of the world really wowed us, and they wowed the US market at the time. And as we studied their operations and the operations of many others within our portfolio that wanted to enter the US, we also learned that many of our existing US portfolio companies were highly interested in expanding their operation outside the US boundaries. So that's really where the seeds were planted for the Reach Global program. And yeah, I agree with you, Natasha, that we are indeed at an inflection point in our society as well as our industry, and have taken a really bullish stance on entrepreneurs and technologies that are taking the bull by the horns in the height of this downturn, the COVID opportunity. Obviously, the very first thing on our mind is the health and safety of our portfolio companies and their various employees. But then after that, strategically, we're doubling down on those organizations that are taking the challenge head on and really trying to meet some of the key needs of an evolving industry. And really, that gets us to again the why of Reach Global. There's really, I think, 4 tenets that we'd probably adhere to, and that's the first and foremost is the access to the talent that is going to take these opportunities and these times of challenge to build better businesses, to serve key needs within an industry, because technology doesn't really care about boundaries, and there's going to be talented entrepreneurs and ideas in all corners of the globe that are waiting for the right opportunities to access. And really, we want to find and help them to succeed within this industry. And that's, it hits on this idea of diversity and bringing ideas from unique backgrounds from entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily in the North American markets, and bringing their ideas to bear on our market, and then vice versa, taking some of the best ideas that we're seeing and applying them to other industries and opportunities on a global level. A second big reason why we established the global opportunity within Reach was for our portfolio. Some of the biggest and most important ways that we can assist our portfolio companies is by expanding their market access, by really having strategic locations around the globe. We, in essence, have launch pads by which many of our portfolio companies can expand their service offerings. And one of the other big reasons why we began expanding was to leverage our partnerships. National Association of Realtors maintains over 100 bilateral partnership agreements in over 85 countries. And these bilateral agreements really provide for a reciprocal exchange of education and training, and a commitment to high standards of ethics and best practices between governing bodies and real estate practitioners around the globe. So we're now able to really leverage those particular partnerships for the benefits of our investments and our entrepreneurs. And finally, I'd say that we like to leverage our differentiation in the market. One of the key reasons why Reach has been looked at as the top scale-up program in the real estate industry is really our ability to leverage opportunities across verticals and provide exposure for entrepreneurs to government policymakers, which really creates some interesting opportunities for their respective competitive advantages. So, that's in a nutshell, a little bit of background as to who we are and what we're looking to accomplish and how we're looking to grow into the future.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for that. Lynette, I think my second question is to you. You were the second expansion territory of Reach. Obviously, that happened in a time of uncertainty. It'll be really great to hear more about the emerging tech in North America, and also the the effects of pandemic on the program and maybe operations.
For sure. So thanks very much, Natasha. I appreciate the opportunity as well to be here. It has definitely been an interesting time trying to stand up a scale-up program for technology in a time where the world is essentially kind of just hunkered down and is waiting. But having said that, I think this time has also illuminated a lot of opportunity for us. And we're certainly seeing a lot of trends, very excited about the type of companies and technology solutions that we've had the opportunity to speak with and meet that are really highlighting, I think, three areas of real emergence. And when I say emergence, it's almost like a re-emergence, because I think the first overarching comment I'd like to make is what we are seeing, at least from a North American point of view, is COVID has really acted as an accelerant for technology adoption by the practitioner and the real estate industry in general, in some very significant ways, but probably three ways that I think that will really impact trends moving forward. So the first is really around visualization. Of course, you know, with the whole requirement and necessity to socially distance and work remotely, live in a distanced environment, what we're seeing from a market point of view is that the market is still relatively active. So people are still buying homes and desire to move at whatever point, you know, whether it's during pandemic or post-pandemic. So while supply kind of fell off for a bit, demand never really did. And we're really seeing markets globally, I think, re-emerge. However, what we are also seeing is that the consumer wants to interact with those properties in a different way. So visualization, 3D integration, those types of technologies are really, while they've always been there and have been evolving, I think that's one of the areas where we will see a lot of continued evolution, largely because we're not certain how society will evolve back into this normal sort of way of operating. So that's one area that I think is a trend. Secondly, on the integration piece, I think more so now than ever, there is an opportunity, and you mentioned it in your opening comments, Natasha, to really widen the aperture around the type of technology that we are supporting in the space, largely due to consumer demand. Consumers want this sort of end-to-end, one-stop shop experience. And so widening our aperture beyond simply that visualization of the property component and really now ingesting more of the, you know, the end-to-end experience. So everything from introduction to the property, you know, all of the mortgage, financing, insurance components being wrapped into that all-in-one experience. So I think that's a secondary trend that we're seeing, is a lot of requirement for integration of technology. And again, I think, you know, back to Dave's comments around, you know, Second Century, having over 100 companies in the portfolio, there are a lot of that technology already exists. I think opportunities for how that technology evolves is really what is coming to the forefront. And then the third component that I think we're really seeing is, you know, sort of this automating and digitizing any of those low-end pieces of the transaction that practitioners would generally focus in, or historically, traditionally focus on, so that they can be freed up for the higher value tasks of facilitating that transaction, like the relational aspects with their clients. So again, they're all very, very interconnected, but through better visualization, it means the practitioner really has a higher value offering to be able to provide to their client. And with the evolution of sort of these end-to-end integrated platforms, also has an opportunity to offload some of those lower value tasks and really be that trusted advisor and guide for the transaction and the consumers in the transaction. So again, back to Dave's comments, it's what's really exciting about the REACH program and SCV specifically, is that we are really here to support and grow all of that technology that really just evolves and enhances the value proposition of the practitioner on the ground.
Thanks. That's an awesome answer, Lynette. Thanks very much. So Valentina, it would be really interesting to find out your take on the PropTech VC and the differences between the UK and North American markets. Obviously, we've started working at the time of the highest uncertainty. The expansion to the UK was announced pretty much a week before the country locked down. So it will be fantastic if you can elaborate on the views and where we are in the UK.
Thank you, Natasha. Absolutely. In the UK, I think we are somewhat, in many senses, similar to and experiencing similar trends that we observe globally. But there are some specifics of the market that I would like to highlight today and share my thoughts. Any technology vertical is best analyzed from their with the following framework that I kind of developed in my mind. So there are 3 pillars of growth for any tech. Their adoption rate by the speed of adoption by the industry that the technology is serving, their amount of talent available to come to the market to set up those new ventures, to invest time and effort, and lastly, the amount of capital that is available on the market to support early stage growth. In terms of adoption, I think Lynette, you picked up on many good points. We are largely seeing similar trends in the UK as well as globally. So the speed at which real estate as an industry had to pick up technology has been fast forwarded by COVID. Those are the trends which we already saw before the crisis, so they were just amplified in a sense. And Lynette, you picked up on all the key tech solutions that are now the winners, basically. So any software that helps collaboration, communication, content sharing, online transaction support, they all see spikes in demand, and technology in real estate is now being reclassified somewhat from a nice to have to a must have in many spaces. And that's where UK, Europe is no different to America or Asia. Then, when it comes to the talent, to surprise of many, in Europe, we can see that we've got many startups per country per million population than we see elsewhere globally. For example, I'll provide the numbers that have been just released by Oxford University, and they based their research on data provided by Crunchbase and Unisu. We've got in Canada and Australia 6 PropTech startups per million population, and in the UK we've got 10. And in Europe, including the UK on average, we've got 8. So that's actually a huge source of talent. And Dave, to pick up on your point that best technologies are emerging not just in the US, that's exactly it. So we are extremely innovative in Europe, and that's just confirmed by the numbers. Now, that's great. That's positive. And I think that, if anything, COVID also has a positive impact on that trend. What is not so great is the third point. So the amount of capital available for those startups. That is a very well-known fact that unicorns, unfortunately, historically leave Europe. So if you look at the data, how many unicorns we see globally, 76% of those are in North America and 24% are in Asia. So where is Europe? So that's been a puzzle for VC world for years, not just in property technologies, just across the industries. Then on the positive side, historical levels of funds have been raised in VC space, even in Q1 alone. Although still, Europe screens disproportionately lower. So we've got $21 billion raised in VC space in US only. On top of $121 billion committed as of H1 2019 and unspent by VC in the US. So COVID did stop or pause some VC investments, but those funds will still have to be spent. So VCs paused for the short time period to reassess their strategies, to see if any of their portfolio companies need support. But in the nearest future, we'll see more deals coming out of the US. In Europe, Q1, KPMG released a report just recently. In Q1, we had only 5 billion raised for all the venture across all industries. This is disproportionately lower when compared to the number of startups that are emerging. And in the States, we see a number of PropTech specialist funds. There are not that many in Europe, if any, well-capitalized funds. So Second Century Ventures is, of course, one of the leaders in the US in PropTech. So I only wish that we had similar level of funding available in Europe, and it must change over the coming years, because that is this balance which will be fixed by the market. I do want to finish on positive note though. So if you in our audience we have PropTech startups, then for those my conclusion would be, if you are now fundraising, do not be discouraged by lack of luck with VC world. So it's likely to be temporary. And if you are looking to, if you have to fundraise in the nearest future, then my advice would be look for pockets of capital, or look for the players that have exposure to pockets of capital in Asia or in the US, because that's where the biggest funds are currently located. If we have investors in the audience, then my call to action for those would be, do not miss the cycle. So if anything, that the PropTech, if you want to play tech theme, then it's the business of today. So hopefully that provides some, I try to make it very high level, but that's where we are in Europe, and that's how we are somewhat different to North America and Asia.
Thanks very much, Valentina. I'd actually like to take an opportunity to address an audience, because we are going to be online for another few minutes, and it's a great chance to ask Dave, Lynette, or Valentina any questions, burning questions that you may have. But while waiting for your questions, I think it'll be good to sort of to wrap up, saying that literally, from what Dave, Lynette, and Valentina said, what we can see is that the right technology sees absolutely no borders. And we're always happy to speak with the technology that is aimed at providing value to the real estate market and market practitioners. I've got a question. All right, I've got a question from Ameno Lammers, that's the PropTech Netherlands and PropTech for Good. Amano is asking, do we expect that impact or ESG investing in PropTech will grow in the coming years? Valentina, would you like to take that question?
Of course. So from my perspective, yeah, so property market is it has been an evil for so many years, and there is a reason. So I personally came to this industry from bricks and mortar real estate, and certain things were driving me, were upsetting me heavily, and that's why I'm now coming to the tech world, to switch into this world, looking to find the right solution to fix certain flaws. So I will give example, like the most obvious one is the lack of diversity. And that historically is the future of real estate. That is like somewhat a male club, relationship-driven business. And I can see, and I'm amazed, and I'm absolutely sincerely passionate about that in technology world, since we are starting from, like it's a new industry, we've got a chance to do it right from the start. And I can see a number of female entrepreneurs, a number of female thought leaders, and a number of people with like diverse backgrounds who are entering the market and are able to be successful. So that's my like strong passion. I'm speaking from the heart, and I'm glad to see that. And as an example, when I joined Second Century Ventures and Reach, I went to, my first experience was going to their graduation of 2019 class and meeting the team in San Francisco. And I was pleasantly surprised to see 50-50 gender split in 2019 class. And that is just making it right. And hopefully this will be the way we will introduce the right things to the bricks and mortar world as well. So that's my take. I don't know, Dave, Lynette, or Natasha, if you want to elaborate on any of those.
Yeah, look, I would echo your thoughts, Valentina, and just quickly add that, you know, from an investor perspective, no doubt investing in ESG is gaining a heck of a lot of traction around the globe. And as a investment method, obviously it, you know, reduces portfolio risk. It allows you to generate competitive returns, and oftentimes it helps investors, your LP set, feel really good about the equities that they own in operations. But, you know, really from a practical standpoint, that this idea of inclusion and diversity is really coming to the forefront, particularly now in the US with everything that's been going on over the last 10 days. It's really been an eye-opener for a lot of individuals that weren't really involved in this space. And, you know, from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, that's sort of the basis as to why Reach has wanted to go global. It's wanting to gather this new, interesting set of ideas from different perspectives. And, you know, if diversity is really kind of being invited to the party, inclusion is I think, you know, asking people to get up and dance. And from our standpoint, you know, working toward a more just and equitable world is always that active process. First, you got to invite people to the party, and then you got to get them up and dance. And that's really sort of the basis of the Reach program. It's providing those voices for those ideas that can change the world. And the more diverse those mindsets are that can be part of our program, can be part of our community, that can really help to evolve not only what we're doing at SCV and Reach, but from the global real estate ecosystem, which is really what we're tasked with doing. We're tasked with serving these practitioners. The more that we can invest in ESG, the better off that we're going to be able to perform, not only for the benefit of our companies, but as an organization as a whole.
Thank you both, Dave and Valentina. I think, you know, this is a fantastic way to, you know, to end our fireside chat, and, you know, on the high note of we're inviting people to a party and to dance and change the world for the best. If you have any questions that you didn't have an opportunity to ask, you know, within the 30 minutes, please do get in touch. You know, find us on Google as narreach.com, or we're all over LinkedIn and Twitter. Do connect, do talk to us. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, guys, for joining me and helping me handling that. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.